if there's a gas leak, right, and you're using positive thinking to say, I don't have a gas leak, I don't have a gas leak, I don't have a gas leak, your ass is gonna faint or die. Or, you have to embrace the gas leak. Oh, there's a gas leak. I'm experiencing depression.
Yes.
I'm experiencing lack. I'm experiencing you become aware. You're like, what is this teaching me?
Henry is an awakening coach, intuitive channel, and retreat facilitator, helping people awake, navigate, and embody their highest truth and purpose. I am here with my man Henry. I don't want to butcher your last name, but is it Quesada?
Quesada,
Quesada.
Like quesadilla.
Right. Interesting. The funniest thing is everyone I have on the podcast, I always butcher their last name. It's just becoming a habit. I don't know why. It's not a good habit, but it's funny.
There's a lot of last names out there, man. So
yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But I'm here with my man Henry, and we've been connected for a few months now, haven't we? We connected through a mutual friend, and we're both so aligned, and we weirdly came across each other at the right stages, I think, in our lifetimes, where what I needed Henry had, and what Henry needed I had, and we sort of said how we were going to help each other. And I just had to have you on the podcast because everything that you're doing, especially with plant medicine and everything like that, is so interesting to me, and it's really actually pushed me down more of a journey to go. When I go to Mexico, I'm going to do psilocybin and stuff like that, and experience some more out of this, the 3D stuff.
Right.
So
right.
We're going to be diving into probably starting with that, but see where it takes us. So you facilitate plant medicine, don't you?
Yeah, I serve several types of medicines. The first one is combo. A lot of people don't know what that is, but it's a secretion from a frog from the Amazon.
Right.
That's a non-psychedelic, but it like pretty much hacks into our nervous system.
Wow.
And allows a purge to occur. It's like a super intense flu for the body.
Wow.
But it lasts about 5 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
And what it tells the body, like the medicine itself, well, let me tell you how you apply it. So you make small little burns just on the surface of the skin, and then you apply the frog secretion, and it tells the body, okay, there's something in my body, let's optimize. And so it flushes out everything, all the toxins and everything. Right. And some people purge,
like vomit and stuff like that.
Yeah, some people do and some people don't. It's a very beautiful process. I've been doing it for almost 10 years, and I studied it at UC Berkeley, and I've seen the miracles and the benefits. And that's one branch of what we do. And we also work with Silawaska.
Yes, you spoke about that, but go into that for people that don't know.
So Silawaska is similar to ayahuasca. So ayahuasca has the vine, which is the MAOI, mixed with trichruna, which has the DMT.
Right.
And with the MAOI, it allows the trichruna to, go through our bloodstream and have the DMT experience. With psilocybin, you don't need an MAOI. But when you have an MAOI, which is through Syrian rue, it's a plant, it creates this ayahuasca-like experience, but it's very different. Ayahuasca is very multidimensional and very deep and profound. It could take over your avatar, it could take over Max, it could take over Henry, and it just puts you out and it takes you into another dimension. But with Silawaska, especially with the right facilitator, you could have this discussion, you could have this dialogue with these higher dimensions in a way that allows you to integrate and allows you to make the changes in a more practical way, at least in my experience. I can't speak for everybody, but the way that we hold those retreats, the way that we hold space, me and my partner, it's intended for self-mastery. So we don't overdo it. We don't give too much medicine. We give enough to it's maybe a few steps higher than a microdose, but it still allows you to integrate a lot of change.
Love that.
So that's my experience.
So what actually is Silawaska? I'm assuming a mixture of psilocybin and ayahuasca.
Yeah, so Syrian rue is a plant that a lot of ancient people used to take, like Solomon. It's a MAOI, it's a non-psychedelic, but it creates this like relaxing experience. It allows your intuition to open up.
Wow.
But there's no psychedelic property to it. So that's the MAOI. And what we do is that we give it in a capsule 30 minutes before you take the psilocybin. So you have to be on an empty stomach, and then you take the Syrian rue, and that creates the kind of like the ayahuasca vine with the Syrian root,
Right. Got you.
and then you eat
Makes sense.
the psilocybin. But even then, you don't eat nowhere near as much. I highly recommend to do people who's listening to this do their own research.
Mm.
You know, yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it that
Yeah,
I've find. Yeah.
for sure. And there's a lot of science coming out to supplement hallucinogens in general.
Yeah.
I personally prefer the natural hallucinogens rather
Mhm.
than the man-made hallucinogens, which they're
Right.
doing studies on. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
I suppose each has their own
Mhm.
opinion on this, but what is an experience you've like? What actually got you into that? Like, what encouraged you to say, this is powerful, I need to do this? Like with myself with hypnosis,
Right.
I found it and I found how powerful it was, and I was like, I need to do this. Like, what got you to that point?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I agree with you, by the way, with not everybody needs psychedelics. I
Mm,
mean, your psychedelics, if you look at the etymology of it, means experiencing your consciousness. And
right.
um, so how I got into this is like, I think it was like 8 or 9 years ago, or even a little longer. I had ayahuasca in Costa Rica for
Right.
the first time, and then it showed me that I was facilitating retreats
Wow.
in self-mastery and
Wow.
coaching and doing these things. And at the time I wasn't ready. I was like, nope, this is bullshit. This isn't me. I had this whole like history, this past. I had no, and so, you know, to answer your question, it was like a seed that was implanted, a seed
Wow.
that was implanted. And I just evolved into that. And I'm a firm believer in what Richard Branson said. He said, do the work
Mm,
and the work will teach you how to do it.
mm.
And
Love that.
so I just jumped in, man, and about 8 years ago, and just invested a lot in understanding the nature of consciousness, the mind and spirit, and it's just
Mm.
led me down here.
Love that. Because
Yeah.
I was having this conversation the other day about like consciousness and how I don't think, I don't know, maybe we'll never be able to truly explain consciousness in words.
Mm.
You can only experience what it is, and I
Right.
suppose it's let's face it, it's got to be something that's not three-dimensional, because in the three dimensions we explain heat through our senses. We
Yeah.
explain that red car through our vision. We explain that dog barking through our sound, for our hearing. Everything's explained through our senses. Like, that's the only way you can really explain something. And we don't experience consciousness through our senses.
Right.
What, and I'd be curious to know this, because I actually want to go into a few things that I came to terms with. I sort of I did a meditation a few weeks, about a week or two ago, and it just, this idea of consciousness just appeared in my mind after listening to something Alan Watts said, and I was just writing 3 pages worth. But I want to go into that. I want to sort of get your opinion on it. But what is your opinion on consciousness? Like, what do you believe consciousness to be, and how does psychedelics specifically supplement that to you?
Okay. So I hear Eckhart Tolle, Michael Beckwith, and a lot of other people that I've had the opportunity to meet and talk to. They don't think psychedelics is necessary.
Right.
Meditation, a lot of self reflection. And I agree, like, you don't really need it. But for some people, I think the majority of people who have trauma, who have no spiritual practice, it could really be the sledgehammer that breaks down that wall
Right.
of
Right.
ignorance,
Right.
and just wanted to share that quickly. So,
Sorry.
I mean, we all know what this is, right? A cell phone, right?
Magic.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. But with, most people consider this your brain, a cell
Mhm,
phone, right? You have all these apps that are running. You
mhm.
have this program, the software, and most people think they're their cell phone, right?
Yes.
They have people that like their family, their culture, their society, their background. They have little apps installed that run in their
Mm,
cell phone, right? And the truth is that we're the programmer of the cell phone. That's how I believe that we
right.
connect to our higher self, right? Our
Right.
higher self is the master programmer. We are not, I mean, you're Max, but you're not Max. I'm
Yeah.
Henry,
Yeah.
but I'm not Henry. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
perceiving Henry. I'm in this avatar and I'm moving around and I get free will. And, you know, and, you know, I think psychedelics helps us to identify with the master programmer,
Right.
right? And
Ah,
then see
okay.
our patterns and
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
like wait a minute, this behavior of, how I treat my spouse, how I treat my mom, how I see my career, it helps us to look at the software and, question it, and possibly,
Love
if we're
that.
successful, to uninstall it and to
Yes.
reinstall something else that's
Yes.
more beneficial for our
Love
purpose.
that. Love that.
So
Because
yeah.
the interesting thing is, and I love that analogy of a phone, because we think, like, for example, I've got an iPhone 11. What iPhone do you have?
I think I have the 11 too.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So we've got the exact same
Right.
phone, and both in black as well. But one, we've both got a different screensaver.
Yeah.
Two, if we go onto our home screen, we've both got completely different apps.
Right.
So the hardware is, like, this is the way that I see it. Our hardware is the human, the 3 dimensions. Whoa, that was awesome, those birds. They
Dude,
was
there's dogs, there's birds, there's bears, there's all kinds of stuff over here, man.
This is awesome. I love this sound. This is brilliant. And for anyone who wants to know, Henry you're right now, you're back in California, but you're moving over to Hawaii right now, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, I have a bunch of stuff that are moving around in the house, so I took this call outside, so I do apologize for the sound effects.
No, we love it. I love to hear it. It calms the mind. People will be listening to this podcast just like, they'll just be imagining themselves in California, because us in the UK, we're not so blessed with that kind of stuff. But no, it's interesting with consciousness, because it's based on it is sort of like an installation of our surroundings, who have been around us, what they've told us, even down to the language we speak. But then again, like you said, we perceive the 3 dimensions, and I think we said this before, is we perceive it through senses alone. And if we can move beyond our senses, is that where you say you move away from that ignorance? Like, you move away and you start to think differently, which changes your perspective?
Repeat that in a different way. So you're saying that, see if I get the question clear, that are we referring to psychedelics specifically?
I suppose psychedelics and the spiritual practice, because like you said, I want to also offer people that don't want to take psychedelics an alternative route that isn't as, not necessarily scary, but it's something that is mind altering. Let's go with that. And it's taken us out of what we already know, so it is the unknown. So moving out of sort of the 3 dimensions with a meditation practice or some breathwork practice or something like that, or plant medicines, something that is mind altering. How does that change our consciousness or our perception on life itself?
So I understand. I think I understand your question more, because it's a layered question.
Yeah, and it's probably the way I'm explaining it is going to be difficult.
So again, not everybody needs psychedelics. Like in my coaching practice, we don't use psychedelics.
Right.
We're essentially a psychedelic. I mean, this whole thing is like a dream. Like, I mean, when we think about memory, Sadhguru talks about this, like our memory is karma. We have this whole thing that, for example, like if I reflect upon yesterday and I was a bad person, that energy is coming into this present moment and is stimulating through the law of attraction or the law of radiance that I was a bad person. And so it's creating karma, and it creates this ripple effect, this cause and effect. So, the whole nature of consciousness, to answer your question, is to become aware. It's to wake up. It's to wake up as,
makes sense.
Because we're constantly going to sleep. I go to sleep all the time. I mean, and I'm constantly reminding myself to wake up. And that's the whole beauty of this whole reality. I think I may have told you this, but there's this quote that really resonates with me. It says that in formal education, we get the lessons, and then we get the test, right? We got the lectures, we got the teachers giving us and then we get the test. But in earth school, we get the test, and then we get the lessons.
Yes. That's beautiful.
That's if we choose
to accept the lesson.
Yes. Because we keep repeating the same cycles, and then we're in this samsara, right?
So we're literally taught backwards.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, they're like, no, you learn it first, then you take the test. It's like, well, no, take the test, see what you're good at, see what you're bad at, then go and learn what you need to learn.
Right. Exactly. So why not identify as awareness? And that's the game, right? To identify as the supreme source, the observer, and that allows us the power to maneuver through this reality the
Wow.
way that we choose, because beliefs are a choice. You know this.
Definitely, definitely.
It's not a fixed thing, right? It's a choice.
Mm.
So if we could just go back a little further and identify as awareness, I think that's the key. You know.
Okay, let's go to that then. Identify as awareness, because I'm like, I do hypnosis, you do coaching, we have a similar, like our business model is a similar thing. It's just like we just do things slightly differently, but we're looking for the same
Right.
outcome effectively. The outcome really is help someone change a belief.
Right.
My old belief around veganism, for example, I'm still a vegan. My belief about I don't want to take an animal's life, that's why I won't eat meat. That's my personal reason, but that's a belief. It's not a truth. It's my truth. So yes, again, that's a belief. But that's changed, because a year or two ago, I used to think people were bad people for not being vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't believe that. I believe also we all have, if people went to go vegan and I could help them, of course I'm going to help them. But I don't think I have a right at all to force anyone to change something because I believe it. Just like with religion, if someone came to me and tried to force a religion on me, my immediate answer would be, get out of my face, because I don't want you to push a belief on me. If I resonate with something, on the other hand, like, I'm not a religious person, I would class myself as a spiritual person, but Buddhism, I love the philosophy of Buddhism, absolutely love it. No one's pushed it on me. I found it through people, and that's where it comes from. And what is your experience with helping people change a belief? Because for me, it was always me not saying a thing, helping them come to that conclusion. How do you specifically help people get there?
I love this conversation, man.
We got deep.
I love this, man. I mean, it's so different for everybody. Everybody's at a different stage of awareness, right? One of my teachers told me the first stage of transformation is awareness. The second step is more awareness. The third step is more awareness.
More awareness.
So it depends on where their level of awareness is, right? So it's not like getting the number one special. So for everybody's going to be a little different. But I mean, I think ultimately is embracing reality to transform it, because the more you push anything, the more it has you.
Yes.
So, you know, the more that you're in duality, the more like, I hate this, I hate that, or I love this. Like, there's a distinction between, like, for example, I think Ram Dass has this, like, he's like, there's a lot of people not going bald, because he says that if you're conscious of you going bald, then you see people who have hair, people who don't have hair, because you're resisting the fact that you're going bald. So might as well accept it. And then once you embrace it, then you have freedom.
Yes.
Right. And so, do you rather be right, or do you rather be free? It's a perspective. Right. So it's a matter of, like, for me personally, where I'm at in this evolution and how I work with people generally is I'm not sure who said this, but our awareness is like a flashlight. Right. And so if you picture this whole, like, reality like this, like, dark warehouse, but not dark as in it's evil, but dark as in, you know, it's the unknown, right?
Yes.
It's the unknown. Like, everything is unknown, right? And your flashlight is the illumination of, like, what you focus on. So if I asked you, what did you have for dinner yesterday? You're actually lighting up your memory, some part of your brain, and it's illuminating something, right? And you have to think about it, and you actually go out of your body and you go back in time, right?
Yes.
And so, like, waking up is a matter of is just becoming conscious of what you're focused on, because you get what you don't want as much as you get what you want. So you might as well illuminate what you want. So I mean, the future of me succeeding and failing are just as likely. So why wouldn't I focus on the future of succeeding, of me being happy, of me being powerful, of me being kind? That is just as likely as the one of me being evil and not succeeding. So it's where you're at, and it's about identifying as the flashlight, the awareness, the master programmer.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's really interesting, because for anyone listening, me and Henry, we connected, and there's some stuff that we want to create, basically. But we're both, and everyone that I've been connecting with recently, that I'm like we said, we spoke before this call, that there's something that's in the works, and we're not sure what it is, but we're not trying anything. We're not trying to push anything. We're just we're illuminating the possibility of greatness
Yeah.
without resisting like the difficulty. And it's kind of like, look, we're just seeing where it goes. I believe this connection has been for a good reason, and we'll probably be looking back on this podcast in 10 years to come and be like, wow, like imagine that's where it started.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing, like it is moving our consciousness. And this is the difficult thing, because I work with a lot of people that are coming from like anxiety, depression, and really like dark places, which I myself have been through. And I believe, like, we spoke about your past as well, and you had a difficult past as well.
Oh yeah.
What is a way that we can get to that ability to really become that flashlight in not necessarily the shortest way, but in the most effective way?
When you're optimistic about the future, it makes you powerful in the present.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's also a choice.
So how does someone become optimistic when they've never been an optimist? It's like someone saying to someone, speak French when you don't speak French. Like how do we, other than learning the language effectively, how do we actually accept that as a belief?
So that's a tricky one, because I've worked with people before I started hosting retreats. I've been coaching for a long time. And I had the opportunity to work with people doing life in prison for murder.
Wow.
To top CEOs, to major companies, and everything in between. And everything is, the whole process of self actualization is different for everybody. But I think the fundamentals are just as simple as letting go. Right. So because like for example, the people when I worked with in prisons that were doing life, I'm shivering, I'm kind of cold. It's like their past, right? They're holding on to their past, they're holding on to the shame. And I know a lot about holding on to shame and guilt and not being good enough, all those things that we hold. It's like having a backpack filled with all those elements,
like with rocks,
right?
weighing it down.
Right. And the more you kind of let them go, the more malleable you come to the present moment and your intention. Right. So at least that's been my experience. So how do you get someone to get to the point of they understand that they are the supreme source and power? I think that's our journey. I think that's our purpose as we incarnated into this life, to understand how powerful we are.
Definitely.
So to answer your question, it's unique for everybody. And Tony Robbins is really good at getting to the core of the stuff. You could use incantations and all that stuff, but I'm not sure how to answer your question. It's really relative, right?
It's unique to each person.
Well, let me give you an example. Okay, so do you have dreams? Like
I have quite vivid dreams. What dreams? Is in like nighttime dreams?
Nighttime dreams. Yeah,
I have quite vivid ones. Yeah.
Okay, so if you told me your dream, right, like specifically how it happened, what you experienced, as much as you detailed it to me, I won't be able to really understand your dream like how you understand it.
Yes.
Right. And there's no difference between waking consciousness either.
Yes.
Like I will never know how your reality is, as much as I'm channeling your energy. Like I also do trance channeling, which is another topic, right, that I got into about 3 years ago. It happened randomly, but channeling is like, for example, Max, you have your personal history. Henry, I have my personal history. You say information, right, from your perspective, and then I channel that energy into my avatar, my brain, and I filter it through my perspective. And then I have my perception of history, right? So I'm a channel of the 3D world, right? I'm channeling people. So you don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are, through your software, through this, right? Through your brain, your programming. So you could become aware of your beliefs and just challenge them if they're not serving you. So for example, I can't make up with this person. I hate this person. Well, is that true? Where'd that come from? Is it really that fixed? Right. And like, for example, like I'm not a morning person. Where'd that come from? When did you decide that? And then your beliefs, your, like Deepak Chopra says, like your cells are listening to your inner dialogue.
Yes, they really are. They really are. I feel the interesting thing is I feel like there's a few like fundamental things. For example, if someone says to me, I want to stop being depressed, can you hypnotize it out of me? I'm like, well, let's go to the fundamentals. What's your diet like? What's your exercise like? Are you in nature? Who are the people you're around? What are you consuming, like material wise, like videos? Are you watching crappy TV? Without those fundamentals, because you look at anyone who is fundamentally successful, who's successful, externally successful, they're happy, they're healthy, they're wealthy. Let's just go with that. Their fundamentals are that they're non-negotiable. And it's like when you start there, like with sleep, for example, let's say someone says I'm not a morning person. Okay, like right now, recently, my sleep has just been not so great. So I'm like, right, what do I need to do? Maybe I look back, what was I doing before and I was better? Okay, I was having zinc supplements. So right, let me try zinc again, see how that helps me, because maybe I'm deficient in zinc. And like there's a few little basic things, but once you get to a basic level, then it is down to I may be mistaken saying this, but then it comes down to creating that core belief to say, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I be successful? How can I? And then you start asking maybe like, why can't I? Then how can I? And then I'm going to sort of like you build that definite answer within inside of you, and that's what comes from the heart. And would you agree?
I agree 100%. And I'm not perfect at all, man. Like, I just want to be clear. Like, I have beliefs that don't serve me all the time. Right. And just becoming aware of it. And I also experience like anger and stuff like that, like in all these different experiences. Like, but yeah, I agree 100% with what you said. Just to go back a little bit on like, I forgot what example you used. You said, or like, for example, I don't want to be depressed anymore. I don't want to be depressed anymore. You get what you don't want.
You
get what you don't
what you're
want.
Focusing on as well.
Yeah, too. But I'm also not, but there's also stages of like transformation, right? Like,
Definitely.
For example, like if there's a gas leak, right, and you're using positive thinking to say, I don't have a gas leak, I don't have a gas leak, I don't have a gas leak, your ass is gonna faint or die. Or, you have to embrace the gas leak. Oh, there's a gas leak. I'm experiencing depression. I'm experiencing lack. I'm experiencing you become aware. You're like, what is this teaching me? What is the wisdom behind this experience? And so what is the gas leak teaching you? Shut it off. Then you shut it off, and then you take the next step, right? I'm not discarding positive thinking. It's powerful, right? But it's also it could also be a bypass, right?
It can be used in the wrong way, I think.
Yeah. And so I think it's important to understand that this whole thing, the nature of duality is like a system of intelligence for us to wake up. It's not personal. Like I had another teacher tell me that, we have the lower self and we have the higher self. Right. And then our consciousness swings from higher self to lower self all the time. It just goes back and
like
forth.
An infinity symbol, doesn't it?
Back and forth all the time, right? And I have different versions of me. I have versions of me when I wake up positive and powerful, and then throughout the day I get upset about something, and then I'm in my lower self, and then I'm judging, and then this. But if you could identify, but we're not that either. We're not the higher self or the lower self. We're the awareness of both.
Right. So we are both. Like it is both. Like, and that's the interesting thing is what I've recently been seeing is there's not one. There's never one. There's always two. There's people that like this. So this was my opinion with veganism. There's people that kill people on this planet. They don't care about a pig. They just don't care. They don't care about any another being's life. So for me to think that the world could go vegan, and I'm not saying that what the vegan like activists do is wrong, because I agree with what they say, but to think that the whole world will go vegan is a very naive thought. To think that the whole world will go positive and happy is a very naive thought. To think that the whole world will go negative and depressed is a very naive thought, because there is that constant flow. And something I've recently been talking to a lot of people about is that mix of the masculine and feminine, and everything I'm talking about recently comes down to a mix of two. And it's like, well, this works. Like diets work. There's people that eat a carnivore diet that are healthy. There's people that eat a vegan diet that are healthy. There's people that eat a carnivore diet that are unhealthy. There's people that eat a vegan diet that are unhealthy. It's like, so the thing is never the issue or the good. The thing itself is neutral. I suppose what we do with the thing is what gives it a negative or a positive charge. And like you said, even positive thinking, if you say there's no gas leak, like, well, yeah, but there is. Like, it doesn't just magic. It's like you still got to do something about it. And it's Tony Robbins says it. He's like, you can chant in the garden, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
But there's still weeds. Whether you pay someone to do it, or you bump into someone down the shop and they say, oh, I've got a weed, a gardening business, and I'm giving a free weed cleanse to my next client. Maybe that magic can happen, but don't rely on that chant to change it. Like do the right steps and just accept beauty into your life. That's something that I've come to terms with. And what we've talked about what we want to how we want to connect, there's no like rush. It's just we just connected and we were like, let's see where it goes. Let's let life unfold itself and just expect beauty, but do the right things, and the right actions, which is the masculine energy. Like, because I get from you, like, you're like me, we've got very feminine energy. Would you say you've got more of a feminine energy?
I think it oscillates depending on the mood I'm in. So, but right now I'm in definitely a feminine energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. Because I've got a lot more of a feminine energy. And sometimes I get caught up with just imagining and creating and not doing as much. So I have to work on that. How have you allowed yourself to get to a point where you help people, but you use that balance of duality, good and bad, and the duality of the masculine and feminine energy? How do you use that to your strength?
So shapeshift, right? So, I mean, this is a good practice. It sounds super simple, but I mean, we could do it if you like.
Let's do it.
I do this in our retreats, but I want you to imagine, okay, that there's a bubble between both of us. All right, and in this bubble, there's no rules. Okay, so you could be who you are. Okay, so I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to blow out your entire past. Take a deep breath and blow out your future. Take a deep breath and blow out everything you're holding on to right now. Everything, the podcast, everything. And you could open your eyes. And this bubble's still here, okay? And in this bubble, we're going to play a game. There's no rules. You can't get in trouble. And it's all good. Everything is good. And so you're protected, you're safe, everything is fine. And matter of fact, this is the safest place you could be in right now, this bubble. Okay. And we're going to play a game. And when I snap my fingers, I want you to call in a certain energy into your body. Like, for example, let me give you one right now. And I'm going to call it in and I'm going to embrace it too. And I'm going to act it out if I want to. I call in happiness. Okay. So you act it out, right? You make believe.
Right.
So I want you, now let's do this together. Powerful. Do you feel it?
It's and that's the thing, the way I'm like, I'm not even trying to get my words out. It's just, I don't, do you know what I mean? I don't care. Like, someone powerful doesn't try. They're like, no, I just say what I need to say. Like, I can't even say it, but I'm not worried about not saying it because I feel powerful.
Yeah. And you could bring in more. So let's continue the game. We'll do a few more. Confident.
Oh, shoulders go back.
Yeah, everything changes, right?
Get a bit of swagger.
And now let's do one more.
Could do gratitude.
Vulnerable.
Oh, vulnerable.
Oh, you want to do gratitude?
I want to do gratitude. I love gratitude.
All right, let's do gratitude. All right. Yeah. Exercise over. The reason I wanted to do this with you is there was no past, was there? Was there a story that you shouldn't be grateful for something?
No, we just created it.
You just created it instantaneously, right? There was nothing like, oh, when I was like 5, I got slapped and I'm not good enough. You know, you shapeshift, right? So to answer your question, I shapeshift into masculinity. It's just giving myself permission. All I did was create permission.
You
you
create
know.
a permission for that to
Yeah,
happen,
all we did is
to
create permission
experience it.
for it, right? And then we also let go of the past.
Wow.
Fuck it, no past, no future, just immediately present. It doesn't take much to meditate, right? A lot of people that think they have to meditate for you. No, you could just become aware and just you control circumstances around you. You negotiate with reality. Most people think that reality is pushing them around, but we're actually creating it. We're generating it. And then we use all these permission slips to validate and confirm who we are and what we are. But when you take control over,
and it's based on our past, right?
exactly. But if you could let go of the past and you use it as a reference, then and you use your memory to your advantage, right? Because memory is a choice too, right? If you could use memory to your advantage, then you could just embrace reality. I mean, there's memories that don't serve us, right? But we could just see that as a gas leak.
Yeah.
You know, and extract the wisdom. Like I work with a lot of sexual abuse victims. The word is not victims. So I apologize for that. People who have experienced sexual abuse, right? And they have a hard time with this specifically, with embracing the fact that that happened. And they're like, "Are you kidding me? Are you telling me that this was supposed to happen to me?" And it's it's not about that really. It's about embracing who you are now and using that experience to be more powerful, right? And that's a perspective, and also forgiveness. And they're like, wait, you mean forgive the person who abused me? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying for giving back the energy that doesn't serve you.
Oh, I love that. I love
Forgiveness, for giving back. It's time to forgive back that energy because it's in you, right? The gas leak is still on, right? It has nothing to do with that person. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you. And forgiveness is giving back that energy, right?
They put upon you because you didn't ask for it, you didn't want for it.
Right.
And that's an interesting thing, because I've worked with people that have been sexually abused, and it's not that we're saying like stop thinking about it or stop worrying about it. It's not that at all. It's not yours. Like they get, if I give you a pen, like effectively, if I say I'm giving this to you, like this is now your pen, this is your pen, you can choose to accept it or not. And obviously a pen is a lot easier to accept or reject versus something like that's a traumatic experience. But like you said, and I always say this, it's happened. It has happened. We can't go back and change what's happened, but we can change our perspective on it, which makes the present change. And like you said, and this is something I really want to ask you actually, because I've spent a lot of time. So when we just did that game there, I've spent a lot of time how to tap into powerful emotions. Like if I want to tap into gratitude is my immediate, that's my favorite thing. That when I say that, I get shivers in my body. And for me, gratitude is just a shivering sensation around my whole body. And I'm feeling it now. And it just literally, I don't know what it is. It makes me want to hug myself. I just feel incredible right now. And like probably just saying the word gratitude, it just triggers it even more and it makes it more powerful. I believe I have harnessed a lot of dedicated meditation practice to bringing this energy in. And like you said, it's very, very easy to do it as a game. It is easy to do it as a game. Let's say someone who's listening to this is really struggling because they've always brought in. So for example, they know how to do it because they can bring in depression when they want. They know how to do it. They can bring in fear and anxiety when they want, and not even necessarily when they want. It can just appear, but they can bring it into their being. How do we get someone from that state of being to go? Like let's say that they're not able to work with either of us personally. Let's say they're just listening to this and they're like, okay, I want to make these changes. How do I just feel power? Like, how do I actually just feel that when they've never experienced it before in their life?
Totally. I have a perfect example. And so I had a difficult upbringing in the sense that I was lost, confused, and I was I think I told you a little bit about my story, but there was a point where I hit a rock bottom and I even thought of suicide. And I thought of I had dyslexia, didn't graduate, like I barely graduated high school, and very toxic. And I hit a point where I was like, why am I even alive, right? And I had no achievements, like none. There was nothing I could be proud of, honestly, man. It was pretty, like, I don't even know. There was no reference for me to feel proud of
Proud, yeah.
anything or in any way. And at that moment, I decided I was going to change my life. And, I started reading all kinds of personal development books, and I was going to seminars, and a lot of it was like, you gotta bring in the emotion of confidence. And I was like, I don't even know what that feels like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. I don't even know what this is like. And so I was like really trapped in my own mind. And I was like, what they're talking about sounds like bullshit to me. How do I just become the master of my reality if I realize that I am the master itself and whatever? But so I really started digging in. So to answer your question, is for any listener or anybody who's struggling the same way that I struggled, is to really just sit and really excavate your past, kind of like an anthropologist or like whatever. You go in your mind and excavate whatever energies that made you feel good at some point.
Right.
So I had to do that. And so I remember when I was with my partner, actually, this is my former wife. We were in Santa Monica, and we were going to the beach, and I was reverse parking her truck into a tight space, and it was super tight. And everybody kept like, there was cars honking, and like I heard a guy say, "You can't get in there, you won't fit." And I was determined to get into that parking space, and I did it. And it sounds so cheesy, man, but my partner at the time says, "I'm proud of you. You did
Wow.
it." She was happy
Wow.
for me. And that was the first time I ever experienced like anything good in my body, that I was like, wow, I could achieve anything. And it was reverse parking a car. I even get emotional saying it because it sounds so cheesy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's what I needed for me to sit and to breathe and to use memory to my advantage, and just tap into that feeling and see myself parking that car, and to activate that energy, and I could alchemize whatever challenges I was going through.
Wow.
And now I
Wow.
have endless references in my memory, endless. Like I could
Love
just think of
this.
yesterday and how confident I felt.
Mm.
And but here's a paradox too. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah,
So
no, you have.
is the paradox of reality. So you if you're not confident in, say, being a public speaker, right? Become aware, because you're being confident of not being a confident speaker.
You're so sure that you're bad at something. You can
Yeah.
also be sure that you're good at something.
Same thing with trusting people, right? You could trust that you don't trust them, but you trust that,
Okay,
right?
nice.
Like there, you could be connected, or you could feel unconnected. For example, people who are not connected right now, who are like, I'm lost.
Mm,
I'm not connected to my spirit. Well,
mm,
you have to be connected in order to have this experience.
yeah.
So it's the idea that you're not connected. But as soon as you
Wow.
become that you're being confident and not being confident, you could just become confident that you're confident,
You're just
because you're
wiping
confident.
out the second part. You're actually making it
Yeah.
easier on yourself.
Yeah, we're tricking ourselves, man. And I do it all the time.
Mm,
And that's why the first step in transformation is awareness.
I'm a big
Second step
believer
is
in that.
awareness. The third step is awareness. And then also letting, like, for example, being able to shift from, you asked about the masculine. How do I tap into that? Right.
Mm,
It's that I call it in, right?
right.
Like in my retreats, I call it in a lot, because my current partner, she's so beautiful. She's so feminine. And so I have to balance that out with, very,
Right.
very with the
Right.
masculine.
Right.
So it's calling it in, and also letting go of any story that's not allowing you to call that in too. So for example, like when we called in happiness, when we called in gratitude, um, we didn't have a narrative. We didn't have a narrative to say that I'm not good enough.
Mm,
So wake up to the narrative. Like, what story are you playing in your mind? You could go to
100%.
therapy, right? You could you could hire a coach, you could hire us, you could do this, but it's just easier to change your narrative.
100%, man.
Just change your
100%.
story, and let go of the energy that's holding back your story from experiencing what you want to experience.
Wow.
Is it that easy? Fuck yeah, it is.
Mm,
Right?
mm,
It's a belief, right? If it's hard, then it will be hard. And so it is. Well,
wow.
the last
Wow.
thing I'll say, just I'm on this wild rant, but
I love it.
is like, I used to have this belief that it has to be hard. Like
Yeah.
I hired a coach. I felt like I don't know if you have anybody you work with, but I'm constantly investing in myself
Yeah.
to to refine and to go deeper within my own process. And I was talking to this person, and I was like, I'm struggling with this. And then he was like, well, are you choosing to struggle?
Wow.
Is that something that you're choosing to experience? And it pissed me off, because I was like, dude, you don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what I'm going through right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when I sat with it longer, I'm like, damn it, I am choosing to struggle. He's
Yeah.
right. That's a belief. That's a conscious choice. Could I choose freedom?
So you've, and that's what I would say is like what you spoke about is self-mastery. Is that doesn't mean you don't screw up. That doesn't mean you don't get pissed off. That doesn't mean you don't get offended when someone says, bro, you're choosing to suffer right now.
Yeah.
You can still get offended, but
Yeah.
self-mastery is getting to that point of going, yeah, I kind of am. I guess. And I suppose that there's just another level to everyone. And I want to touch on what you said about that reverse parking, what you said. And I love that. And bro, honestly, when we talk, there's so much of like our past. We've got some sort of incredible like twin flame connection in our life for sure. Because bro, what you talk about, I'm like, literally the same thing, but just a slightly different experience happened with me. And where you got to, so you said you didn't have anything to feel proud for. I felt exactly the same thing. I had nothing. Like the only thing I had to be proud of, I can't think of anything. Like even down to like buying a car. Like I didn't buy my first car on my own. Like I had help from my parents, so I didn't even have that to be proud of. I didn't have, like, I had nothing to be proud of. But the one thing, and it is again proudness, so that's why it's so ironic that you said that, is again I had nothing, but the one thing that I had to be so proud of was when I used to race motorbikes. I was never the best. I never won a race. My best position was second, the best ever position. And I can picture it now. And I still use this one thing. It was on the last corner of the last lap. I overtook he was actually my friend, and I overtook him on the last corner, and I got second place. And when I say that again, like you brought back so much emotion from reverse parking a truck into a space. How does that bring any happiness or joy to someone? How does coming second? I didn't even win the race. Some people will go, well, you didn't even win the race. Why is that? Why are you so proud of that? And it's like, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can, and I love how you put that, you can excavate that energy and just go, okay, so what is just one thing? It doesn't have to be like ridiculous. It could genuinely be that drawing you did that kind of resembled the mountings that you were drawing when you were 5. Even though it was an awful drawing, it could have kind of resembled the mountings that you were trying to draw.
Right.
If you can tap into that energy, which you've put that absolutely beautiful, Henry, because like that's what I use, and I've never really expressed that in videos, that is what I use. Like, but now I've got so many things to be proud of. Now I've got so many things to feel grateful for. And the one thing that Tony Robbins said years ago when I first heard it was, if you start to find things to be grateful for, you'll start to eventually have more things to be grateful for. So I remember, even though my car was a beaten up old Ford, I was like, well, it still gets me from where I want to go to. It still gets me to my job. It still gets me to do stuff. It still gets me to have freedom. Right. So surely I can be grateful for that. And maybe you don't have a car, maybe you have a bike, but there's someone right now that can't walk. And it's kind of that perspective shift, isn't it? Like, I'm not saying compare yourself, and I'm not saying that there's not someone who's got it tougher, because some people have been through some stuff, like even yourself, man. Like, you've been through a lot of stuff in your life. We've spoken about it, but you've changed that narrative. And you made that conscious choice to change that narrative. You tapped into your flashlight and you've gone, right, here's all the things that were awful. Well, why don't I start to change it? And you didn't, I'm sure you didn't just go, right, depression to the verge of suicide to the wise Henry we're speaking to today. That didn't happen. It was a process of effectively going onto your iPhone and going, right, remove that app, don't use that app, that app just weighs me down. I follow these people on social media that make me feel bad about myself, unfollow. And you just, like, over time have done that. What's the most important thing, do you think, to help someone start awakening to realize that? Because like you said, it's a realization. How do we encourage someone to start that realization journey?
There's a book, and all you got to do is just listen to the title, Extreme Ownership.
Wow.
Or responsibility, taking full responsibility over your life. Jocko Willink has a book called Extreme Ownership. But that's all I needed, just the cover of the book, Extreme Ownership.
Wow.
But if you look at the word respondability, right? Respondability is your ability to respond to the present moment.
Right.
Reacting is reenacting your script, your character, reacting.
Wow.
So it's like, so when we react, we're reacting to our old narrative.
Yes.
We're reacting to our old version of ourselves.
Yes.
The thing is, like, one of the things that I love about psychedelics in general is that it breaks me out of time. Like this idea of time, like I'm malleable, and I could bend reality, like with my mind, and because I'm pulling up the memories in my own data bank, right?
Yes.
So I could utilize that to my advantage. So I kind of went on a little tangent there, but what was the original question? I'm sorry.
How do we wake up? Like, how does someone awaken their consciousness? How do we actually start to do that? And sort of shine that flashlight effectively when they haven't done it before again?
Like, again, there's so many different layers to awareness and consciousness and where people are at in life. Truth is relative. Your truth is very relative to you right now, and the next week, or when you go to Mexico, when you come back, your truth will be different.
Yeah.
And so the version of you will be different.
Yes.
And so I think the first step is to understand that you're writing your script.
Right.
It's that you're literally writing your script. You're writing your script. I'm writing my Henry personality. I am not my personality.
It's based on your experiences that you've experienced, but you can change that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's and there's this like whole idea too of like transformation, changing yourself, but it's actually about returning to self. It's returning to your essence, returning to the programmer. Because your personality is a persona. Alan Watts talks about this a lot, right? Like it's a character, it's a persona, it's a character that it's in a play. Will Smith and Jim Carrey, in Will Smith's book, he talks about how he was acting out. He got like someone he was acting, and he became that actor, and it was affecting his ability to be himself in reality. Same thing with Jim Carrey.
Yes, I've heard Jim Carrey say it.
Yeah, right. So we could act out a different character, right? Our personality is actually super malleable. It's modifiable. So it's to wake up to our script. It's to wake up to our personality, that it's not fixed, and that you could use it to your advantage. Use your personality, the aspects of your personality, your memory, of where you experience more gratitude, more joy, and then focus your flashlight on what you want to experience. But I think a lot of it is going deep within yourself.
Definitely.
What are your values, right? Like, I know my values. When I was lost and confused, I didn't know who I was.
True.
I didn't know what was important to me. And then when I got my values,
the self-discovery journey.
Exactly, right? To know what's important to you. What are your top 5 values? And are those values aligned with your actions?
Yeah.
Because if they're not aligned with your actions, then you have imbalance.
So let's go with this. I'd be curious to know your top 5 values, and I want to go through my top 5 values as well, and just see where we're at. Because also I do believe this is going to change.
Right. I mean, they always change.
Yeah, they always change. So it's like this doesn't mean you have to choose your 5 values for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
What are on the 24th of the 2nd, 2022 at 5:32 GMT? What are Henry's top 5 values? Would you say?
I want to say impact. Impact's number 1. Service is number 2. Just joy and abundance.
Yeah,
I guess that's 4. And just surrender. Those are generally how I function. Is it always perfect? No, because my values will shift if I'm taking care of my mom, right? And then something else takes over, right? And so but those are my core values, and adventure.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
What about
So
yours?
So, and this is interesting because, so before I say that, would you say that when you're more on purpose, when you are really like high energy, would you say you're sticking to those values? When you're not so high energy, you're not sticking to those values. So like, it's sort of like, because that's the thing. My highest value over everything is freedom. So the reason that I didn't want to put my phone in a phone contract, because I don't want a contract. I want the freedom. The reason why I chose to work for myself is because I don't want to be told when to work. I want to work when I want to work. And that doesn't mean that I don't work, because I actually work more than I ever used to work. But it's my choice. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I'm not being told to do it. It's out of that, which probably then leads me on to my next one, which would be impact. That's why I'm so dedicated to work. But I've noticed when like a lot of the stuff and in especially this winter, I haven't been doing too much. I've been working a lot. So my value of freedom has lowered, which I would say definitely lowered my vibration. The act of me booking Mexico straight away through the roof, my vibration has just gone right up, because it's sort of like a confirmation of like, just stick to your values, Max. Just stick to your values. So I would say it's freedom, then impact, definitely like abundance, which is something that I've been working on, because I'd never had that abundant mindset. So that's something that is a very high value for me. Connection with people, which I've definitely, what's the word, neglected for a while, because when I went on my self-discovery journey, I had to, I feel like I was so weak-minded that I needed to neglect people to really be me, to then come back to that, and which now I'm really connecting with a lot of people. And man, yes, I had the greatest day. I've recently been speaking to, so one of my really good friends, she's a really good friend, and I've only just met her. Literally, I've met her twice. I went to hers yesterday. Shout out Layla, incredible girl. And we literally did a cacao ceremony at her house, and we were just in such a good vibe, good energy, and honestly, it was just such a great thing. And then yesterday also I connected with a friend who I met again from social media, and that connection really just brought me so much joy. And then I'd say the fifth one has got to be what should I say the fifth one is? We've got freedom, impact, abundance, connection. And the fifth one, what can I say? It's going to be like, a value for me is definitely like some form of routine. So, and it's not like anything vigorous. It literally is like, a value for me is just sticking to what I say I'm going to do. That's what, I suppose, discipline, to say, no, I'm going to meditate. If it's 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes. If it's an hour, it's an hour, but it's sticking to that. And I suppose when I look at those top 5 values that now I'm going to really be crystal clear on, I really encourage anyone listening to this to find your top 5 values. And again, this could change, and that's okay. But I definitely notice when I'm sticking to those 5, man, I'm on fire. Like no one can stop me. You could tell me my hair looks bad. It probably does, because I'm growing it out. I don't care. I don't care what you say. I just feel wonderful. But no, that's beautiful that you've brought that to my awareness, because I'm gonna use that now, and I really encourage people to use that. But where would you say on your journey you're at now, and what sort of where do you think life is taking Henry with the knowledge, wisdom, and experiences you've been through?
So I surrender to my dreams a lot, like my literal dreams that I have in dream time.
Wow.
I'm going to Oahu right now. So the person I'm creating a life with, she's actually the person that I hold retreats with. And so she came into my dream time, and I fell in love with her. Wow. And she and her, and as well for her to me. So we're doing that. So I really follow my heart, man. Like, wow. I really follow what feels good in my dreams. And when I look back retrospectively, it all makes sense. So for example, like, I'll give you a quick example. Like 4 years ago, when I was coaching, I was also doing a lot of dream time journaling, and I was having dreams where I was a combo practitioner, and I wasn't a combo. I've been working with combo, but I wasn't a combo practitioner. I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, hell no, I don't want to do that. Not right now. And because I have so many different projects that I'm working with, and I kept having dreams about serving it. So when I finally surrendered to it and I said yes, and I just kept saying yes and yes and yes, it led me down the rabbit hole, and my life has changed completely. And so to answer your question, I just follow that routine of
You
just
follow
saying
that.
yes to what's in alignment with my values,
Beautiful.
and I just move into that, and I surrender. And a lot of people think surrender is like giving up, but actually it's the opposite for me. It's like the more I give up control, the more I have it. And so
Yes.
um and if you look at the word surrender, I'm big on words. Sir means God or creator, and render means service. So if I give my
Wow.
service to my creator,
You're going to
then
get what you asked for.
exactly, and I just use my intention, my flashlight.
That's beautiful.
And so I do have like, our life is a puzzle, right? So what you do, what I do is essentially the same thing, but from a different version. Is like, we have a Rubik's Cube in our brain, right? It's scrambled, but we just kind of help people to kind of look at that and solve their own Rubik's Cube.
Right.
And our brain is a puzzle. We have puzzles. Like, you have this thing, this whole reality is a human labyrinth, right? This whole thing is a labyrinth. It's a labyrinth in the flesh. And so we have all these different pieces, but if you have a vision of what you want to create of your life, and you have your pieces to your puzzle, then you could look at your vision, right? Being optimistic about the future makes you powerful in the present.
Yes.
It allows you to shift your pieces into the way that you want your life. And it may not exactly look like that, but it'll get you closer to where your heart wants you to be. Beautiful. And the last thing I want to say, because you said something very powerful earlier, and it relates to this, is like, what would you say is the thing that helped people to get them out of whatever funk they're in a way? You kind of said that, and it's discipline. It's being a disciple. Discipline is being a disciple of the art.
Wow.
And you could be a disciple of anything, like of your future, of anything, is falling in love. And then if you happen to be stuck in a rut, say, how you said that you were kind of you were saying that veganism, this, and like it was creating this duality, right? Or your vibration was lower in winter, right? It's not having judgment over that fact that you're in a lower vibration, right? It's not having judgment that you're having, oh my God, I was judging this person for not being a vegan. It's not having judgment over the judgment. It's actually becoming aware that, oh wow, this was a different version of me. Now I choose
just holding your hands up to it and be like,
yeah,
I did, like, so what? Like, we changed.
Because guilt is another thing, right? Guilt, having guilt over your judgment, and then you're in a hole. And like, say if you're stuck right now, if you're judging yourself for being stuck, it's just going to make it more stuck. All you got to do is take responsibility and ownership and just accept it. Being in a level of acceptance also equals freedom.
Wow, that's beautiful. It's kind of like quicksand, isn't it? Like, we're told if you're in quicksand, you can't panic.
Yeah.
And the most time that you should panic is when you're in quicksand. Like, you've got a whole right to be in quicksand. You're literally sinking. You're literally sinking to your death. So you've got a right to be panicking. Those who survive it are the ones that don't panic. And I suppose that's a good metaphor for life. Is you may have just lost your job. You may have just lost your house. You may be going through a divorce right now. There may be so many things that are going on. And you have a right to panic. And I want to encourage everyone, you have that right to panic. But now more than ever is also you have a right to make those changes. And that's where I really believe the beauty is. And what you said about just trusting your heart, which ironically is about is intuition, I suppose. And again, this podcast and the right topics come up. I really believe that with these conversations that I have with incredible people like yourself. And
likewise,
I truly believe that if you can learn to trust your intuition, that's why I called this Intuition by Max, was if you can learn to do that, then when something is external world bad, you don't see it as bad. And I feel like that is the commonality of people that are optimistic about the future. Because like you said, if you believe that the world is going to implode and that everything is awful and all this stuff with everything that's going on in the world is just the worst thing ever, it's like, well, yeah, but look at Viktor Frankl, who was in a Nazi concentration camp. That's whenever someone feels like really sorry for themselves, again, you have a right to. But whenever someone does, I always recommend Man's Search for Meaning, because when I read that book, I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm being a bitch here. Like, Max, grow up. You weren't in a Nazi concentration camp. Even with everything that's going on in the world right now, like, I know there's a lot of awful things going on. There are. But can we also find beauty in that? Can we see that there's a breakdown of, maybe a breakdown of government, which I would love to see. Let's not put political beliefs in it, but I would love to see it. But can we see the beauty in that of when there's a breakdown of something, that leaves space for something beautiful? And it really does. And can we see that? And I feel like that's what got me through specifically all this stuff that went on with the pandemic was there's something called chaos theory. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but
a little bit.
So in order for there to be great order, let's take the Big Bang as an example. And I don't, regardless of what anyone believes, let's take the philosophy of the Big Bang. I believe there was a Big Bang. Let's take the philosophy of it. The Big Bang was a condensed to the fraction of a particle that then expanded and explode chaos, and then created a universe, great order. And inside of what's going on in each individual speck of the universe, the Earth, as an example, there's chaos right now. Once that chaos explodes, eventually there's going to be like incredible order. I truly believe that. I could be naive to think that, but I tell you what, like you said, I choose to think that, and that makes me feel good. And like you said, which I really love what you said earlier about positive thinking, let's not disregard it, because I'll admit this, even recently I've been disregarding positive thinking, but I haven't thought of it in the way that you explained it, Henry, which was, let's not disregard it. If there's a problem, there's a problem. But also the days when I feel good, I'm like, I look good. Like when I get a haircut, I like, Max, you look good. Like that positive thought makes me feel better about myself.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And
exactly. Yeah.
So let's not disregard positive thinking, but if we can just shift our perspective on that. And I love the way you said, follow your heart. How did you learn to follow your heart? How did you learn to trust your intuition? Because so many people don't know that. And I've learned that. It's definitely a skill that you need to learn. How would you encourage someone who's not trust their intuition to trust their intuition?
Oh man, it always goes back to the present, right? So it's like, how can I help someone to trust their intuition? Well, there's a movie called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and in it says, what makes you think I'm not your intuition? Like they're like having a conversation. What makes you think you're not my intuition?
Wow.
Right? Like this whole reality, this whole like that whole metaphor when I asked you about what are your dreams like, and giving me a depiction of it. What is your reality like? You're giving me a depiction of it. We have to understand that everything is fundamentally different. The only in reality transurfing, it talks about one of the core fundamental facts is that there's infinite versions of reality, right? Infinite variables. So there's infinite variables of yourself, and it's just to really wake up to it. And is it that easy? Yes. Right now, wake up, Max. Wake up, Henry. Wake up right now. What are you feeling right now? Wake up. Right. So it's just a matter of waking up and also embracing. Again, I think if we were to distill everything that we've talked about, is wake up, right? Wake up, embrace reality, take full ownership and responsibility for what you got going on. Birds are going crazy. Was that a hummingbird? What was that, dude?
There was two of them. They're having a bit of kiss chase.
Well, yeah, that's a sign, right? Or like, yeah.
That is literally wake up. Like these birds are going to come at
you. I felt it by my ear. That's so crazy. Anyways, wake up, take extreme ownership of whatever you got going on, and don't have judgment for it. Your body will experience it, right? Like, for example, again, my life is not perfect, but that makes it perfect. Last month, my dad passed away. He graduated from the flesh. My mom got COVID. She almost died
from the flesh.
Yeah, like, and my mom got COVID, and I had to take care of her. And around the same time my dad died, and I was going through a separation and this and that, and and at the same time, just being able to wake up and embrace that, and saying this is reality and this is the gift that I have to experience really gives me the power to really shift from it. And it's not about changing my reality, it's about changing how I perceive reality.
Beautiful.
It's returning to self. And so, and also extracting the gold, right? So wake up, right? I think that would be key. Wake up, like right now, wake up, because we have a tendency of going back to sleep. Embrace reality, take full ownership. Ask yourself, do my values really align with my actions? And if not, why not? And if I'm willing to do that, right? Because not many of us are willing to let go of the person who sexually abused us, right? And that's okay. That's okay too, by the way. It's okay if you're not ready to let that go, right? That means you still have more wisdom to cultivate, and that's beautiful, right? There's no judgment there. And so, and extract the wisdom, like if you're mining for gold, do you keep the dirt? I mean, when you're mining for gold and you're trying to get that piece of gold, like, you get rid of the dirt,
getting rid of the dirt.
You get the gold, right? So get rid of the dirt, get the gold. So if you were sexually abused, or if, I don't know why I'm focusing on that too much right now, but, or if you failed in a business, or if you failed in a relationship, extract the gold. My relationship wasn't a failure, it was a success. My divorce was a success, because it illuminated the values that are very important to me.
Beautiful. And that didn't stop you from potentially being mad at that point. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what you said earlier, is we're humans. Like my last relationship highlighted so much. I found that gold, man. And my approach to relationships has changed dramatically. I was still upset, I was still angry, I was crying, like I was still that. And that's something I really, really, really want to encourage people. Is like you said, like, just because you learn something doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. If anything, it probably hurts more, because then it means you'll never forget that. Do you know what I mean? You'll never forget that. So it's actually better at hurting. It's kind of like invite more hurt, not in a point of like, I want my life to be awful, but invite that hurt in to say, now that I feel this and I've experienced this, I will never forget that one lesson, because I can tap back to this. And it's kind of like you said, like, you remember it, you use that flashlight and you're looking for that bit of gold again. You're like, that was it. Yeah, right. And that's how I approach relationships from now on.
Right. And the same thing with me. Like, I cried for a month when my partner wanted to separate. And that was maybe over 2 years ago. We've gone through a long journey to fully separate, but we are best friends. I would make her my best man if I were to get married again, and because, the communication and my values are there, and you could align your actions to that. Was it perfect? No. Did I have resentment? Yeah. Did I have all these things? And you just grow through it. But there's always, if you ask yourself, what is the wisdom that is seeking to express itself right now in a challenge, it will show you. Right. And if not, why is my world going to hell? Then it will show you too. Your wish is your command. That's how powerful we are. We illuminate everything about our reality.
Really do.
It's just getting a hold of that flashlight. It's a tricky one. I have a monkey in my brain that is tossing my flashlight around all the time, right?
Like Piggy in the middle.
Yeah, man. It's and that's the whole journey. And no, I'm not perfect. And I work with a lot of people in my coaching practice and in retreats, and it all boils down to this, man. You are worthy because you exist. And if we knew how many people, if we knew, from executives, I'm not going to say people I work with, but from them to the person who is doing life in prison, they go through the same process of like, I'm not good enough, or this or that. But if we could just wake up that, that's just our story. We're all in this human earth school. We're in this earth school. If we could just wake up to that and just understand that it all has a purpose. The pain has a purpose. And as Ram Dass says, could you open your heart in hell?
Beautiful.
We could.
You can.
But
will you? That's the question.
Yeah. Could you find joy in your sadness? You can.
That's what I want to invite people to do. If you could take anything from this conversation, is we're not saying you have to. We're not saying you have to find happiness in sadness. We're not saying you have to find confidence in anxiety. But like you said, you're confident that you're anxious. So like you're confident that you're sad. Yeah. Can you be confident that you can be happy? Can you? The greatest story that ever happened to me was when me and my sister painted some offices, and there was not a speck of dust anywhere. We were the cleanest I've ever been in my life. We just finished. The only time I've ever seen a black carpet, and my sister accidentally dropped a 10-liter tub of white paint, and it wasn't her fault.
Oh, no way.
White paint on black carpet. When have you ever seen a black carpet? Never.
Never.
The only time. So we sort of, like, I'm not going to go into the whole story because it is a long one, but the outcome was, do we get mad at each other now, or do we just laugh it off and just find a way to make it funny? Like I said, I was like, look, the worst case scenario is all the money that we've just earned, we just buy a new carpet, and then we're out of pocket, but is what it is. But I was like, let's not think that far. Let's just see what we can do. And we just got to that point, and it was just like, let's just find laughter in this. And like we said, that could have been $3,500 down the drain, but we found laughter in it. And it was like, we didn't have to, but we chose to. And I feel like that's what gives you your power back, is choice. And I want to ask you, before I ask or I tell people, or you tell people how they can find you, what is your intuition telling you, Henry, that you wanted to say to people? You want them to hear a message, whatever it is. There's no limit to it, whatever you want it to be. What's your intuition telling you, man?
Everything is perfect, even though it appears that it's not. And there's always a lesson if you look for it. There's a lesson in absolutely every experience. You know, Ralph Waldo Emerson says, like, every man is my superior, in that I learn from him. And just really quick story, and it's super fast. I got COVID in August of last year. And there's an interesting experience really quick for your listeners. Like, when you say you have depression, you're claiming it.
Yes.
But if you are experiencing depression, then it's a fleeting thing.
Right.
So it's how powerful we are. It's our words depict reality. So I just wanted to just say that. So I experienced COVID back in August.
Love that.
So there's a big trash can passing by, so I apologize. But I went through a depression when I experienced COVID.
Wow.
I felt suicidal, and that was the first time I felt suicidal in a long time.
Wow.
I felt like I was doing nothing in life, even though I had everything. I was going through this graduation again, this tomb of transformation, this womb of transformation. And I was also feeling not good. And I was like, all these stories of like, I'm not going to recover. I'm not going to be able to run, and all this blah, 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 blah. And I just stopped, and I said, okay, this is what I'm experiencing right now. But the truth is that I'm powerful. And so I just, even in the funk, I just said, I don't understand now, but when I come out of this, I'm going to come out 1,000 times stronger and more capable.
And here he is.
And honestly, here I am. I run faster, I'm stronger, I'm healthier than I've ever been. And so the lesson, I guess, to go back to what you asked, is like, whatever your listeners or whatever everybody's going through, there's a purpose behind it.
Definitely.
And it's up to you to decide how you want to extract the wisdom. So if you're not experiencing something that you want right now, ask yourself, what do I believe about myself that is creating this experience? And it'll tell you, your brain will tell you. And then, are you willing to let go of that belief?
Yeah. It's kind of like sitting on that long enough and really sitting with that long enough until you find it. Not just like, right, I'm going to meditate Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If I don't find the answer, I'll just give up. It's like, no. Meditate Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, until you get that answer. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you got to be persistent with this stuff, because the mind is a child. It's always folding his arms and stamping his feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mine is definitely.
We all are. I feel like that's where what I'm liking about these episodes with people that I'm talking to is it's coming down to. I'm just getting a shiver saying it, so it's definitely right. But we're just all being so open and honest. We're not necessarily claiming like we see a lot of podcasts, and there's these scientists that are talking about all this stuff, and a lot of them do say, I'm not tearing anyone down here, a lot of them do say, like, I'm not perfect, but when we listen to some of them, and they don't necessarily say that, we assume them to be perfect.
Oh man.
And
Jesus.
I like to encourage everyone to on this podcast to say like, and I didn't even encourage people, they just say it. And that's why I know I'm speaking to the right people. They're just like, they got so much humility to say, like you just said, you literally coach people how to overcome and master themselves. You literally just said you went into a state of depression. Like the same thing happened with me when I had COVID. I came out and I was getting a lot of anxiety, and I was like, well, no, I wasn't even getting anxiety. Again, that was the story I was sort of saying. And I was like, is this back? Is my anxiety back? Is my anxiety back? No, it's not. There's things that you need to learn from this. There's things, and now, man, I'm just back to pure beauty again. I really am. And life is a season. There's seasons. There's winters. There's summers. And your winter will never be as bad as your winter 10 years ago if you're constantly developing.
Always, man.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's so hard. It's so difficult sometimes. Well, that's a choice too, right? But you're in your body, right? So like if you see a 5-year-old, like, I don't know, you have a nephew or something, or a niece that's 5, suppose, right? And you don't see this person for 10 years, you see the massive growth, right? But we're with our bodies all the time.
So you don't see it.
So by law, give yourself some credit. Okay. Give yourself some credit for existing, because it takes courage to exist. Beautiful. And we don't have a rule book. We don't have this manual for life. We're all trying to figure it out.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
No, I love it, man. Henry, I always say to everyone that comes on, I actually need to get around to doing this, but I want to go in depth with people, and I want to have more conversations. I don't want to have to speak to everyone. I want to go in depth with specific people and just keep doing these episodes. So we'll definitely have to do another one, and I look forward to connecting as well. But where can people find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to come to a retreat, if they want to work with you? How can they get in contact with Henry?
So my website is henryquesada.com, and that's spelled, well, my Henry Quesada, spelled QUESADA.com. They can find me on Instagram at henryc.quesada.
Brilliant.
I'm not big on social media, but I'm gonna start coming out of the social media closet soon. And and gonna update my website. I've been really blessed to work through, exclusively through referrals for a long time, and it's been really successful for me. At this point, I'm being pulled into updating my website and creating content, and so I am going to come forth, so
beautiful. I'll put all the links in the description of the YouTube video as well. But Henry, you're a blessing, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Likewise, brother.
Spreading your wisdom. I'm blessed.
Bless you and your listeners and everything that you do, brother. Thank you.
That's it, man. And everyone, thank you for showing up. And remember what Henry said. Just become aware. Wake up.